Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone and a TFR ride. And we start at the beginning where everybody is happy and nothing has happened. I don't really show this too often as the older camera couldn't capture enough, but I figured I would show some of the start of the ride. We'll just kind of fast forward through some of this. Coming out of the parking lot, everyone's looking good. Here we are waiting. And I decided to throw a little fast forward, fast speed motion into this, kind of give you an idea what some of the ride looks like. A little bit different, kind of like it. Won't do it often, but well, it's kind of fun to look at. Tipping ahead a little further, there we go. Get up to the red light, a little more of this, a little more of that. And here we are heading down towards the sprint zone. 19 miles an hour, everyone's looking good, and everything is fairly well ordered. I'm really pleased here. Super pleased that we got about 16, 17 people on this one, and we're controlling ourselves, and it's such an orderly ride. In fact, it's a thing of beauty. See Dane there in front of me, Marquetta, looks like Anna, I can see Rob, I can see Byron, and there are good times here. An excellent spring, everyone's coming out, everyone's being safe. I'm just loving the ride. Nice shout out or point out of the pothole there, which everyone is good at. Looking rearward here, we can see Mark, who hasn't been out in a long time, Fort Collins Club rider, and far off in the distance, I don't know if anybody noticed, but it was James Stevens coming to join us. It's a it's a pretty good day so far. I must say that there haven't been much of me to yell at people about, which I kind of like. It makes the videos, well, somewhat not boring, but no one has to be surprised with me like yelling and saying anything shocking. Just lots of praise for everybody because everyone's riding really well. And now we get into the meat of the video. Everyone's together, slowing down, controlling the lane, making the right-hand turn, and no one is accelerating because the rules of engagement state that the melee, of course, will not begin until everyone rounds the corner. And I'd like to take the time here to thank Byron Besserell for his GoPro footage, which I've included in the upper right hand. Thanks to him, and it's interesting to kind of look at the difference in the coloration of the GoPro versus the Insta360. I'm thinking if this was like a really important video, I would color correct the GoPro stuff to have it match, but I digress there. So here we go, everyone getting into position, and there's a lot of riders that really know that sitting back, you can ride much easier, enjoy much more of the shelter, hang on a lot longer if you sit in the back. But that is not clearly the case for myself. And I'd like to say that this is probably the ride with the most women on it in quite a while. We've got Ilka up front, we've got Anna, we've got Isla, and Marquetta. I think the only women that were regulars that were missing would be perhaps Jamie. It would be a full boat and probably a record if we had all five. Anyway, things were getting organized there. People sitting in the back were looking at Byron, looking super smooth there. We got Rick, who's come back to the fold. Up the road here, things are starting to get a little more organized as I can see Curtis going to the front, and it is my clue not to be too far back here. Nice shot of Byron coming through. There's Isla as we now want to acknowledge the women's competition here. That first woman to the top of the hill in the sprint zone shall be acknowledged by yours truly with shout outs in this video. Not showing it now, but there had been a slight move up the road there, and I was going to cover that. No one else seemed to want it to, and for the first time in a long time, Byron has decided that not to sit back like he normally does and let these things go up the road, but to be a little more attentive. tightening the shoes there, and that is always a sign that there is going to be work to do. You'll notice even in the pro videos, when they're playing cat and mouse near the end, there's the tightening of the shoes because you know any extra shoe movement is wattage lost. It's time because you need to have that solid connection between yourself and the bike. Looking forward, we see John. Ian looking strong at the pointy end just about. Looks like maybe Greg and Curtis up front, and we are getting strung out. Looking at Byron's cam back there, you can see there's some scrambling going on. And I point my camera rear and it confirms what his camera has shown. Looking at Marcelo looking strong there. Got Joel back there looking strong, and everybody is fighting for position. And look, and there's Anna, newcomer from the Fort Collins Club. It's been a few weeks, but she is right up there, fighting for position ahead of some of the strong men, which is very impressive. Up front there, we're bringing back an attack by, I think it was James Stevens. Back behind, it's fairly orderly. People sitting in, and there is a little bit of headwind up here, and it's definitely keeping things together. And with a group like this, with this much wind being pushed forward, everyone is together, and it's going to be quite a challenge to actually create a selection in a group this large. Little shot of Joshua there, OG coming back to join us after a hiatus of maybe a couple of years. And it looks like Byron to the front. James Stephen goes to the front. Not a real attack, but definitely knowing that we need to have a selection here and bringing 100 people to the end is not a good thing. Anna from the Sports Common Cycling Club with the unaerodynamic visor holding more than her own close to the pointy edge of the stick here. This is very impressive, and we're going to give her the most aggressive female of the sprint zone. Very impressive. Even more impressive than the normally aggressive Ilka, who is still on her gravel bike. Hard to say which of the two is actually stronger at this point. Josh looking good, Anna looking good, people sitting in as the guys up front are doing a lots of the work, a little bit of pedaling, and this is a chance for the folks to recover and make ready for when an attack comes. Oh, and look, there we go. Marcelo. I love this. Making the attack off the front. Curtis following. And this is marking when the game is truly afoot. And there's some lethargy here. I am surprised that Scott in the black there didn't cover this move. Sitting back, no reaction, waiting for Danny, who was up front doing lots of work. I don't know. This allows James Stevens, knowing that people aren't going to do any work, to go ahead and try to cover that move. That was very nice. And now Scott is forced to do a little bit of work. First time coming in the screen, looks like Dean coming up through. Got Greg. Andy Lockwood dancing on the yellow line, still within the rules of engagement. Looking strong there. Looks like, is that JC going to come through here? It looks like, yep. There's an attack up the road, and we are trying to bring him back. And there goes JC. Opportunist wheel suckers who were sitting back, enjoying the shelter, now going forward to do a little bit of work. But it is not easy to actually stay here. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't have my power meter turned on. I don't have real power today. I only have my heart rate, so I'm not really talking about that too much. But you can see the speed is still up, even with a little bit of a headwind, 5 miles per hour. And look at the front, we can see, and this is rare, that women have made the selection. Not doing anything misogynistic here as far as statements, but this is impressive to see that the strength and the caliber of the people that we have coming out to this ride. Danny looking good. John coming back after doing some work. Marcelo over there, I can see his leg just kind of pumping up and down. I know that style. Mr. Stevens has been brought back, and Byron now just taking his time bringing people forward. Not quite certain why he's this far over to the yellow line, as it should be a slight echelon from the right shoulder over, but now it looks like he's coming into the correct position. That may have guttered a lot of people. I wasn't really paying attention to what his camera was showing. Scott coming through now. Obviously had saved a lot of energy, not wanting to cover the early moves. Mr. Jensen looking strong. Dean looking strong as they are brought back into the fold with only one more rider up the road, maybe two. Is that like perhaps JC? Scott working hard to try to pull this back. Byron on his wheel. James Stevens comes through. And look, Anna was up there with the big man. Impressive. As she slightly falls back behind my wheel. Very impressive riding by everybody here. I'm trying to cover this 28 miles an hour. I can see my heart rate is just pegged, and I am unable to stay on the wheel of James Stevens as he is just too strong. Danny's on my wheel, and the group who was taking the slow and steady route up has made it up to me. And I am grateful because I'm going to use this opportunity to sag back and maybe stay in contention. Joel, nice push. Joshua coming through. And all of this is allowing me to stay in contention as I get a little bit of respite. Ilka for the first time in front of me as she has sat in for the longest time. And this illustrates, and Ian, this is an illustration of if you're just slow and steady, you don't need to waste a lot of wattage. And when you're doing cooperative group rides, one need not do all that attacking. And this is probably like a reference to the Fort Collins Cycling Club after riding with you guys a lot. Strong, but you attack each other too much. Anyway, looking rearward, Isla has come and actually caught and passed Anna. This is impressive as the women are fighting it out in this one. Looks good. And Anna comes up with a nice surge to get up to Isla, as it looks like it's going to be mono a mono, but I believe it looks like that surge was too much for Anna, and a nice try, game over, but she definitely gets the most impressive, most aggressive women's rider of this sprint zone. Isla sitting on my wheel, I'm way back there. We can see as I come through, Mr. Stevens has done his work. Notice the camera on his head. Hopefully in the future, we will look for some videos from him in his cyclocross season, which will be up and coming. It's nice to have more video bloggers out here. Isla makes a final push over the top, dancing with the yellow line, wanting to pass a few riders in the enthusiasm. And what do we have here? Oh, strong violation of the yellow line rule. I don't know what was up with that. She doesn't watch these videos, but I'm not certain where she was going. But people, no reason for breaking the rules of engagement here. Anyway, it looks like um, Ilka won the women's competition here. Not certain who won the men's, but it looks like, oh, Byron turning around first. So it looks like Byron would have gotten that one. It looks like JC second. Well done, everyone. And a good time was had by all. Nice safe turnaround here. Probably one of the larger groups to be together in the selection for the end. Very impressive, very impressive. I enjoyed this one. Good times are coming. And peace out, everyone. Until next time.